Hey everybody, video here for you today, and we are going to document another Ancient America site. And for new subscribers, I started documenting Ancient America sites about 4 or 5 years ago. I think I did about 25, 30 videos. And then about a year and a half ago, I thought I'd look into it a little more. Figured there's some spots I missed. That was a year and a half ago, and I'm still going. Over 175 videos on Ancient America, but today we are going down to the Shiloh Indian Mounds National Historic Landmark. It is right on the Tennessee River here. Here is the site today. The mounds are right in this area, kind of covered by the woods. And there was an important Civil War battle fought here. I'll mention that briefly coming up. Here we are down on Street View, the entrance to the historical landmark. Here is the entrance, and then I guess the mounds are right down in this area here. And there's a story to tell about the mounds. Historical Civil War battlefield right nearby, and some of the victims of that battle were interred in one of the mounds. Here we are down in the woods. You notice there is a mound right here, smaller one right back here. And then there is a pretty good sized one right here. Here we are on top of the main pyramid mound. You notice how close it is to the river. I guess they have lost part of this mound to the erosion of the riverbank here, but this will give you an idea of the view from this ancient city. It says a major political center in the year 1200, a 46-acre town protected by 2 ravines in the river bluff contains 7 large platform mounds and over 100 small house sites. And here's a look at what they think it looked like. And you notice the red color on these? Well, they were covered in red clay. Those must have been pretty striking in their original forms. Perfect 4-sided clay red pyramid mounds. That's pretty fascinating. And we'll take a look at a fascinating pyramid site in Mexico coming up probably a little later today. You notice here this effigy pipe that was found here. Let's take a look at that. Now, this is the most famous artifact coming from the Shiloh Mounds, and I have talked about these effigy pipes before. But you notice the bowl and the place for the stem here on the back. Here is a black and white pic. But the people who have studied this think it probably came from people associated with Cahokia. There has been red stone effigy pipes, I guess, found at Cahokia that are similar to this. Trade was vast and extensive in ancient America. Just a little more on the mounds. It says they are one of the least disturbed areas of earthen mounds in the eastern United States. Early European settlers were familiar with the site. After the Civil War Battle of Shiloh, members of the 28th Illinois Infantry buried their fallen comrades in the westernmost platform mound. Their bodies were later reinterred in the National Cemetery. Thanks to its early inclusion in the military park, the site of this ancient town was never plowed. But I will leave this link below. It goes into the battle here, and this comes from February 1862, and then the battle finally takes place in April 1862, and the Union Major Ulysses S. Grant is involved in this battle on Shiloh Hill. Here you look at some excavation work they were doing here, and I read on one website that I guess they weren't positive they got all the Civil War victims out of the mound that they were buried in, but research has gone on here over the last decade or two. Here is an 826-page PDF I will leave the link to. And the work that has gone on here has been pretty important because this site was pretty much non-disturbed. But here is the edge of the bank and the mound, originally covered in red clay. Must have been pretty impressive. I'll just share a few pics from this paper here. Notice the different layers here in the side of the mound. This is the red clay one. I guess part of this eroded over the riverbank. But this was featured in American Archaeology magazine about 16 years ago. Here's the southern and western side of the pyramid mound. That was red originally. Here's one of the things they found, an unusual hearth atop one of the platforms, on top one of the mounds. Here it says, Stage 3 mound viewed to the south. Possible eastern and western wall trenches are indicated by breaks in the red clay mantle designated over the structure. Here is an area where they excavated. The holes you see here and they think that there was extensive fires built on this platform at one point in time. In some excavation work, they found worked copper here, and the dating of this site, people say it started about 1,000 years ago. And then on other websites I have read where people lived here, they think for about 800 years. But then on other websites, this place was abandoned about 600 years ago. So that's a little confusing. Here is an area of the mound, 4 post holes, and immediately my mind went to the 4 pillars of Osiris. The 4 pillars you see in all the important tombs in Egypt. This paper might be the most extensive research paper I've seen on a mound site. I'll just show you a couple more pics here. You can see the different layers, and especially, this might be the best one yet, different layers of a mound. These aren't just mounds of dirt. See the red clay and other things here, other layers of the mound. This is one of many ancient American sites where the ruins have been just kind of grown over, and we just can't appreciate what these sites look like in their original form. This is one of many sites that the Smithsonian had their hand in, and this just appears a little odd. They did work here in 1999, and they were looking for previous work done here. It says they searched for and found unmapped excavations opened by Frank Roberts in 1933 for the Smithsonian. Mound A is at the edge of an 80-foot sheer bluff, and the entire east slope, shown on the 1934 map, has fallen. In the early 1990s, a ranger saw part of the level summit area fall into the river. Mound C is a burial mound where the Shiloh pipe was discovered and removed in earlier years. It says the guy who worked for the Smithsonian never wrote a report. I've been studying the collections at the Smithsonian and the records. There was no work done in the 1930s on Mound A that's falling into the river, but the mound appears to be much more complex than we had any reason to believe. It's very clear that the mounds were covered in bright red clay. There was no vegetation growing on the surface. Imagine a bright red pyramid with a building on top of it. So the Smithsonian was here in 1933 doing excavation work, probably taking artifacts, and they didn't write a report. That's a little weird. But also found around this ancient city was a palisade wall, a wall that encircled the whole site. That's what they think by what they have found here in the ground. That is my video on the Shiloh Mounds from Tennessee. I've had a few messages over the past months on the site. Thought I'd cover it today. Always something new and interesting. An ancient American site where a Civil War battle was fought involving Ulysses S. Grant, a red pyramid. That was pretty interesting. Hope you thought that was cool, and I'll probably be talking to you real soon.